This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome to Journeys with Joni. My name is Joni Rametta, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mark Clark. Mark, how are you?
I'm awesome this morning, Joni. How are you? It'd help if I talk into the microphone, I think, wouldn't it?
Yeah, okay. A little bit better, yeah.
I'm on track now. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Awesome to be here.
I know. Hey, it's fall. Have you noticed that?
We've had a few days.
Couple days, yeah, here and there. But, hey, I mean, I was noticing some of my friends up north are turning their heat on. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
not us yet.
No, a friend of mine was, I guess he was in the Chicago area, and a couple weekends ago it was snow flurries were in the air. I'm like, ooh, that's why we live here, folks.
That's why we go to the beach.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll talk to them from the beach.
What a better place.
I know. Well, we want to say hello to everybody out there joining us today. And, October we have decided is our theme of taxes. Not something that most people want to talk about, but, it's one of those things that we all have to do.
It affects everybody.
It does affect everybody.
Whether you like it or not.
Right. And, we have to pay a little bit. But, I think our motto sort of is, I'll pay, but I don't want to pay more than I have to pay.
Right. Render under Caesar that which is Caesar's, just don't give him any extra.
Right.
And if you don't know all the rules and you don't use all the rules to your advantage, you will end up giving Caesar a little bit more than what you should.
Correct. And so, we've sort of been talking, our theme overall has been sort of about, filling the holes in the bucket and, what's in your bucket and some of the things that, we can do as individuals and how we find ourselves in February, March, or April, whenever you make that appointment with your tax person to go file your taxes for the previous year. You're saying, oh, well, gosh, I should have done this last year and I should have done this last year. Because once the calendar hits December 31st, you're done.
Right.
There's nothing you can do on January 1st to affect the taxes of the previous year. So we have been talking about how important it is to go and, do that, have that conversation with your advisor, whether, it's with one of us, it's with your CPA, with all of us, talking about where do you stand in October, November, or the first part of December? Where do you stand with your income? Where do you stand with your capital gains? Where do you stand with your business? Do you have profits? Do we need to, figure out some ways to do some tax planning to avoid paying more taxes than we need to do?
Right. I think too many people live in that environment of procrastination. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. Today is October 15th, which is the final extension date.
Right.
So for those of you who are going, final extension date, what are you talking about? Yes, for all of those procrastinators, I will admit I'm not too far behind this procrastination date. But for all of those procrastinators, October 15th is the last extension date that you have to file your 2013 taxes. And, those of us who may choose to file on an extension, those of us who choose to file in March because we want to get money back, all of us have an opportunity to do what we call is tax planning. And that's really what we're talking about today.
And tax planning happens before you pay the tax bill. It doesn't happen after you pay the tax bill. And it doesn't happen after the calendar clicks over to another year.
Right. And the interesting thing about the extension is I'm sure people are listening to us going, wow, I wish I would have waited till October 15th to file my taxes.
Oh, no, you pay the taxes before you file.
Right. You still pay the tax. You pay an estimated tax, and potentially you might have an interest or a penalty that you are fined for paying the full amount late. You still owe your taxes as of April 15th, 2014 for the 2013 tax year. But nonetheless, the reconciliation of your tax return, the extension, those who are using things for planning purposes, there's all kind of reasons that you extend. But nonetheless, we're talking about planning. And you have to be proactive in the planning, or you're just letting the tail wag the dog, which is never a good thing.
No, and when it comes to your money, you don't want somebody else controlling your wallet. So you need to think about those kind of things. If you're filing your taxes for last year today, or you've already filed them and you didn't like the bill that you paid, if you don't like how much you paid, now might be a really good time to go back to your accountant and say, okay, last year, this is what we did. Is there anything we could have done last year that would have limited my tax bill? And would that be appropriate for this year? Because there's no sense in waiting another year to do that. Let's do it now.
Right.
Stop procrastinating. Try and figure out if there's not something that we can do today that would affect our taxes next year for this year, and save some money. Let's keep the money. You're out there earning the money, whether you're on a payroll, you're an employee, if you're a business owner, you're working hard to make that paycheck.
Right.
There's no sense in giving more money away than you need to.
And oftentimes we'll find, you've heard us talk on the show before, we mentioned this, the holes in your bucket. You've done a good job putting a lot of money or resources or assets in your bucket. Not that we want to focus on the negative side of your leaky bucket, but the fact of the matter is you've done a good job of accumulating enough liquid, if you will, in the bucket. And what holes that you have, that steady dripping, if you have a dripping faucet at your house, and you go, oh, that's not a lot, huge drip. The next thing you know, a month goes by and you get a water bill that's twice. And you go, how in the world did that little drip become that costly? It's because you ignored it. It's one of those little annoyances that says, don't look at me, I'm just a little drip. But the next thing you know, the implication that financial drip has on your net worth over time becomes huge, and you don't even realize it.
Well, and a lot of people say, I don't have the time to call the plumber to do those kind of things. Matter of fact, my son just moved into an apartment, and he was telling me how one of the toilets continued to run and run and run. And then he got his water bill and he's like, is that reasonable? And I'm like, well, it's about half what mine is. And you're about half the number of people that are in my household. So that sounds about reasonable. And then he was telling me about the toilet. And I said, you might want to call the maintenance people and have them fix it. So they fixed it, and he got his new bill, and it was $7 a month less. And he's like, well, that's no big deal. I said, really? Do 7 times 12. I go, let's just cheat. Let's just do 7 times 10. I go, that's $70. Do you have an extra $70 you want to just give to me now? And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So, it may not be $7 isn't a lot of money, but $70 plus $84
that's
for the whole year. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's money he could be putting into his Roth IRA account.
Absolutely. And, we're coming up on a break here, but we've talked to some CPAs and over the past couple of weeks as we've been working with them with some of our clients. And I found it interesting. One of the responses we got from one of them, we'll share it when we get back. But people want to see, let's take a look. Where can we potentially find a hole in your bucket? What can we do? Come see us. Sit down and have a conversation. How do they find us? Yeah,
our offices are located at 6230 University Parkway. That's just on the east side of I-75 near the new mall that opens tomorrow.
Oh, yay.
Hurry up and get out there before the traffic starts. You can give us a call at 941-361-1484. You can go to Journeys with Joni, that's JONI.com, where you can find our phone number, emails, previous shows, and some of our blog pieces. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, Mark just put out a little teaser. He likes to do those things, don't you?
I love doing that. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think what you really like to do is have my eyes go as big as silver dollars, going, oh, what is he going to say now?
Anticipation. There was my lovely wife smacked me the other day because on Facebook there was this video, and it ended up being a scary face at the end of the video that jumped out. And I always like those things. I always like things that, expect the unexpected. Life's too short. You got to have a good time. But anyway, what was I bringing up before the CPA?
Right. We were talking about being proactive and talking to, our accountants and CPAs now and our financial advisors just about the things that we didn't do last year to limit our taxes that we could be doing this year. And we have had a couple of CPAs in our offices recently talking about some planning with some clients. And you sort of teased us that, one of them made a comment.
Yeah, one of them made a very interesting comment, and I asked the CPA, happens to be a guy. So I asked him, I said, what is one planning thing that you think people are missing an opportunity to take advantage of? And he kind of scratched his head a little bit, and he said, well, that's kind of easy. Let's have a conversation with me before the end of the year. Tell me about the changes that have happened. I'm not a mind reader. And,
right.
How many people have started a small business? How many people have had a baby? How many people have had somebody go off to college? Life changes in many ways, and oftentimes we don't talk to the CPA until we put all of our stuff in the envelope, we answer the questionnaire, or worse yet, maybe we do our own taxes. And that brings up a whole other subject. You don't know what you don't know. And his comment was, if people would come talk to me before, we would have an opportunity to make some adjustments that could be very impactful or very large to the percentage of taxes that they're going to pay. And we have time to make changes and have an impact. And
I'm just thinking about it here. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so you make the appointment to go in March of 2015 to do your taxes for 2014. And just think about this. Something changed in your life in March of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to remember that in March of 2015?
Probably not.
Probably not. So the fact that you're basically a year plus after something could possibly have happened in your life to affect your taxes.
Right.
I mean, if you have a baby, you'll probably remember that. But, potentially maybe not, because, you've had this baby for a whole year. You don't remember that it was born in the first part of 13, not 2012, and wasn't on those taxes. And you need to say something.
Exactly.
I mean, because we get so comfortable in life, we think that everybody knows everything because we've known it for a year, and you're anticipating that your accountant knows it too. But when was the last time you talked to your accountant?
Last April.
Right. So maybe the baby was born in June, and you don't think about it. So you really need to think about the different things, and maybe you make a tax file, that you put all your tax information in and notes, had a baby, had a grandbaby, sent, junior off to college, opened my own small business in, March of 2014.
Right.
Formed it as an LLC, as a partnership. What did you do? How did you do it? Where are all those documents? So that when you go to your CPA in October, right, to prepare
until April, yes,
right, you go in October, you take this file and that says, okay, here's all the things that happened this year,
right,
that are different than last year. Is there anything that we're missing? Because what about people who have started a new business?
Right.
Did you open it? Did you do it yourself? Did you go on to
sunbiz.org and
right,
did you pay your fee? Can you deduct that? Yes.
Right. But do you know about all those things? Did you open your business in the right way? Is it a partnership? Is it an LLC? There's different ways to form your business.
Right.
There's different people that you can involve in your business. Did you do it the best way? And if you didn't, you can change it.
And based on what your goals on, you have options. Not everybody's, this
right,
is not a one size fit all, right?
Absolutely not. No. But if you're not having the conversation, you're not going to know. And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to talk to people, especially those people in your life, an attorney, your CPA. These are the things that are changing. These are the things that I'm doing, making sure that you're doing the right things if you're going it alone.
Right. The additional components of the conversation that we were having the other day with the CPA, the attorney happened to be standing there as well, is the fact that not only do people expect them to be mind readers,
right,
but their true heart and their true desire is to be a planner when they're given the opportunity to do so. And that's one of the things that we bring as certified financial planners. We bring to the table is a proactive approach to causing the other professionals that work on behalf of our clients to think outside of the box, is to push them. And that's one of the challenges as we work with our clients is we're also getting the comment, hey, I've never thought about that.
Well, because we all get in a rut. We all get used to, this is,
right,
I mean, it's a habit. This is what I've always done. It's always worked, and this is how I'm always going to do it. Well, if you get in a room with a couple people, your CPA, with us, your advisors, and we just have a conversation about what's going on, maybe some light bulbs go off, and maybe somebody says, well, have you ever thought about this? If you're not open to making choices, if you're not open to telling your advisors everything that's going on, no one can make those suggestions to you.
Right.
So you can't anticipate that I know, can't anticipate that your attorney knows. And sometimes we don't think you're going to, as the client, we don't think they're going to want to do this. So we won't bring it up because, you do things the same way all the time.
Right.
If you're open to change, if you're open to at least looking at something different, ask the question, hey, is there any way I can do this different?
Yeah, it goes back to the saying we've used a couple times here. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And what you don't know could be very costly. And, just like your son's $7 water bill, over time, last time I checked, very few people are happy with what Washington, D.C. is doing with our dollars. Mm-hmm. So the more you can keep in your control and the more you can have, what if you just gave that $7 away? What if you found somebody that could really use the money, or you put the money in the offering plate at church or whatever?
Right.
You have an opportunity where you control the dollar, and that's really the focus of the planning that we do.
Right. Let's not waste the dollars. It doesn't mean that you're not going to still spend the money, but are you spending it really where you want to spend it?
Right.
Do you really want to give it to the water company? Do you really want to give it to the IRS? Or can you put it someplace else and keep some of it yourself or give it to somebody different?
Right.
It's always nice to have a choice.
I know we're up against a break here, but I got a wild idea. In a few weeks, we're going to have a guest CPA on. It's this is tax time. We were going to try to get one on earlier in October, but they're just crazy busy because of all the procrastinators out there like me. But we'd love to entertain some questions. If you had a question that you'd love to hear us get answered by the CPA on the radio, that'd be great. Send us an email.
Yeah, go to www.journeyswithjoni.com. There you'll find our email. Send us an email. Tell us what questions you want us to ask. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Mark, just before the break, you and I were talking about not paying things that we don't want to pay, basically.
Right.
Not paying that extra dollar to the IRS or that extra dollar to the water company if you've got a water leak, and how we need to be very aware of those things that we do during the year that can affect the bottom line in our taxes in April of the following year. And we need to actually be talking to our advisors now. Right. Because I think it's very important that we're proactive. Let's figure out what we can do now to save some money for later.
Yeah, I was looking at there's a workshop I'm considering going to, and the tagline, or one of the buy-ins or the whys that I should attend the workshop, is it's an opportunity for you to work on your business, not in your business. Mm-hmm. And my thought process over the last few years has turned to a business process. Your family budget is still a business. Your business is still a business. At the end of the day, it's profit and losses. Right. And really, that's what the 1040 tax return is, a reconciliation at the end of the year of what you owe the federal government based on your expenses, mm-hmm. your incomes, your deductions, your credits, all those things. That's what that is. So you have to think of it as you're running a business. And until you convert that thought process into a reactive, okay, que sera, I'll take my shoebox full of stuff to the CPA and let them work their magic, it's not going to happen. You have to be proactive. And they're not magicians. No, they're not. And they want to be planners, but we need to give them an opportunity to be successful. And just as we're not magicians with your retirement accounts and your planning stuff, we do have some things that we are pretty good at. Right. And I think one of the things that people need to also be looking at is looking at your capital gains.
looking at your investment statements. Have you taken capital gains this year? Do you have losses? Have you taken losses? Do you have any tax planning you can do there personally? Because I've got several people who have said, we're looking at their gains. They've taken some gains. The market's up very well. So, some people are rebalancing portfolios. That's some things that people do towards the end of the year or on a quarterly basis. It's all, it's personal choice.
Right.
But, look now to see, have you taken some gains? And if you've taken some gains, are there losses in your portfolio that you can take to offset those gains so that by December 31st, you've minimized the gains that you've taken in your portfolio so that you're not paying more in taxes than you really need to take?
Right. So think about this for a second. If you're listening to the show and you go, well, why would I want to take losses in my portfolio? The tax code allows us to do some pretty cool things.
Right. Let's
say that we have company ABC. I'm not talking about any specific company. I'm not recommending a buy or a sell or any of that. Just take company ABC. Mm-hmm. And if company ABC is a good company that we want to own over a long period of time, yet economic conditions have caused ABC to be down, or on paper you have a negative, you own, it's worth less than what you paid for it.
Right.
You have an opportunity that you can sell that at a loss and offset some gains.
So you're limiting your taxes that you're paying.
We're limiting our taxes. We still want to own ABC company, and if we wait 30 plus 1 day, we can go back and buy that company again, assuming it's probably still going to be down because it's one of those good companies that over time is going to move. And if it's not, we can buy something else. But we've harvested a loss to offset gains. Mm-hmm. And when we're working on a case study right now that we're going to make available to people. But when you look at the tax loss harvesting that you can do in a portfolio, and if you're saving, 10% of the taxes that you would normally pay, that could be a huge number over time that you've kept working in your portfolio versus sending it off to Washington, D.C.
Right.
So if you had a $1,000 loss in your portfolio or a $500 loss, and that offset a $500 gain, let's just say it was a 20% capital gain, you basically, on the $500 number, you basically are saving $100 in taxes. On the $1,000 number, you're saving $200 in taxes. That's $200 that continues to work for you that you don't have to go out and earn $200 plus the taxes to get it back in. Now, this logic doesn't make any sense in a qualified account, so we're only talking about non-qualified, which would be your individual accounts or your trust-owned accounts. But that's powerful, very powerful. And people don't even see that. And if you're one of those people that get a tax bill at the end of the year on your brokerage account or your investment account, and you go, why am I getting a tax bill? I didn't change anything. I didn't buy anything. It's the phantom taxes that you are being part of or you are participating in because you're in a mutual fund-based portfolio. Mm-hmm. And, again, that's the tail wagging the dog. You're not in control. Someone else is.
Right, exactly. And with the NEPSIS Capital Management, Mark Pearson, our portfolio manager, he actually does some tax planning in the portfolio. So when he's investing stuff, he's looking at the accounts for some, and he will harvest some tax losses.
Right.
Throughout the year to offset some of the gains that he has taken or anticipates taking.
Right. Brings very quickly, reminds me of the story at the end of last year. One of our clients called up and said, my accountant called and said, I have losses, but I don't get it. My portfolio is worth more at the end of the year than it was at the beginning of the year. I don't understand. Tax loss harvesting. Mm-hmm. It's the ability we have to protect the gains and use the tax rules. Use them all to your advantage. There are more rules that are available. Just think about the tax code. And I don't know anybody that knows all the rules. That's why we work with CPAs.
We
and
sure
tax.
don't.
No, we don't. That's why it takes a team. And we have that team, and we can help the clients. We can help them migrate the minefield of the unknown, if you will, for tax planning, investment planning, insurance planning, all that good stuff. And we can help you, migrate through that in order to get a better result.
Absolutely. And if you're listening and you haven't made that phone call to your CPA or your tax accountant or your financial advisor, you need to do so as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have somebody you want to talk to and you want to talk to Mark and I, we would love to have our opportunity to talk to you. You can give us a call at 941-361-1484 or visit us at www.journeyswithjoni, that's JONI.com. We'd like to thank you for sharing your time with us today. We hope you learned something new. You actually can control some of the taxes that you're paying.
Yes, you can.
If you plan a little bit in advance. If you missed any portion of today's show or any other show, you can go to journeyswithjoni.com to find those shows, our workshop dates. Send us an email. We would love, we talked about it earlier, we would love to have you send us some questions, either for us or for our guests. We're going to have a CPA on in the next week or two. So we would love to have some questions. If you have something out there that you're just burning to ask, send it to us. We'll do it anonymously. You can read our quarterly updates also at journeyswithjoni.com. Journeys with Joni will be back next week. Until then, thanks for listening.
This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC registered investment advisor.